Welcome to the Wellness Real Estate Podcast. In this episode, we're going to discuss how you can leverage your NAR Green Designation and provide more value that resonates with today's health-conscious consumers, which, by the way, is 79% of the population. We'll dive deep into the unseen elements that could turn a dream home into a health hazard, from lurking mold and electromagnetic fields, or EMFs, to toxic materials and comprised soil quality. Discover what every real estate agent needs to know to assess the health of a home, especially for those serving clients with chronic health conditions or compromised immune systems. Understanding these risks is not just professional due diligence, it's your ticket to creating deeper relationships with your clients. Join me as we connect with Athena Brownson, a realtor, green building expert, and healthy home advocate, as we dive deep into simple steps you can take that can make a difference between a safe haven and a health risk for your client. Whether you're looking to enhance your expertise or protect your clients, this episode is a guide to navigating the complexities of healthy living spaces. Tune in to become a wellness-minded agent who not only sells homes, but also sells peace of mind. Remember, your role as a real estate agent extends beyond transactions. You're a community connector who cares deeply about your clients' well-being. If that's you, stay tuned. Welcome to the Wellness Real Estate Podcast, where you'll discover a groundbreaking strategy that's transforming real estate marketing. In every episode, we focus on topics that will help you have more authentic engagements and meaningful conversations about your business. As the wellness real estate impact grows, with projections reaching $850 billion by 2027, don't miss this opportunity to revolutionize your approach, generate more leads, and increase sales, becoming the community connector you're meant to be. I'm Sheila Alston, and I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Healthy Home Media, where I help agents all over the country leverage this new trend in the industry to spark new conversations that get people to listen to you and notice your brand. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels without the consistent leads or sales to show for it, then stay tuned. This podcast is your guide to standing out in a rapidly evolving market, guaranteed to change the way you think about real estate marketing. Okay, Athena, I'm so excited that you're here. As I mentioned, Athena is a realtor for 10 years, and she has a background in green building. Her dad was a developer, and so she has a keen awareness of the built environment. She's here today to share really her understanding of what goes into a healthy home and what agents can do to navigate that and provide more value to their clients or to her clients. And before we get started, Athena, I just want you to, maybe you could tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about healthy home. And then I want to dive deep into how you actually help your clients.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. The first time we talked, I left feeling so invigorated and just really excited because I do think that the green building space there's so much untapped potential and educational resources that we can really make a difference for people in. So really just, our ethos align very well, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so glad that we met.
Fun. Me
Not
too.
everyone has the background that you have in the green building. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I was raised in if you are a skier or snowboarder, you probably have heard of Breckenridge, Colorado. I was born and raised in Breckenridge, and I was on skis before probably around the same time I could walk.
Yeah.
So my parents were, successful adults that decided they wanted to move to the mountains and kind of be ski bums for a minute. Well, my dad took over his father's lumber business. So we were always involved in the world of building. And he took it from owning the lumber business to transitioning into development. And one of his background degrees, one of his masters, he's way smarter than I am, is in ecological land planning. So from a broader stance of understanding how we're affecting the environment through development and through growth. And obviously we all metro areas and desirable places to live are consistently growing. And I think there is a lack of awareness sometimes into, okay, how can we incorporate green building practices into the growth of our cities, and individually, what can we do? Because it can be this big, scary, taunting task. So Long story short, I grew up in that environment. I didn't think that building or construction or even real estate were something that I would ever find my passion in. I think most kids can agree that you don't necessarily grow up saying, I want to be just like what my parents
Yeah.
are doing.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you before we hopped on, I look at my life now and it really is the perfect combination of my mom's interior design and she chose all the finishes and is very, very, very savvy to sustainability in general and everything
Yeah.
she does. And then my father's building practices, like I just mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
so it really did, it was the perfect storm. I unfortunate. So I have been a realtor about 10 years now.
Yeah.
And about 2 years in, I had just finished a professional skiing career. So I was a professional skier for 10 years. I traveled the globe about 300
Wow.
days a year. It was, I call it my past life. It was
Yeah.
a completely different world. But when I was recovering from my last neck surgery, I started getting a lot of strange illnesses that a young, healthy adult shouldn't be getting.
Right.
I was really lucky. I had a Lyme literate doctor. So I had a doctor that was very familiar with Lyme disease. I've
Hmm.
never even seen a tick. I have no idea when I got bit, but that really started my journey into my body went from being a professional athlete to almost, barely able to get out of bed.
Oh, wow.
Then on top of that, the first home that I ever bought, I realized late on was making me sick. And the environment that I was living in as a realtor, having had some inspections done, of course,
Yeah.
there were enough big items that were missed that dramatically impacted my health
Wow.
that it immediately became aware to me that there's this huge educational gap
Hmm.
that it is our duty as agents and consumers to really understand how building practices, how different, ages of home and what materials were used during the ages
Hmm.
that they were built, how these things can affect our health
Hmm.
because it's probably the number one place we're going to be spending the most of our time. And if you're in an environment and could be, immunocompromised or
Hmm.
you get sick and all of a sudden you start getting these more chronic issues, I think the level of awareness when it comes to your home is not talked about enough.
Well,
And
yeah. And I think so many
yeah,
people are writing off these symptoms as just old age, or, they'll buy into the autoimmune saying that my body's attacking me for whatever reason. And maybe it's because it's genetic. So then that gives you some sort of answer to not be your own investigator and find out that it could be your environment, right? You just kind of settle for that diagnosis and just think there's nothing you can do. But, brain fog is not normal and chronic illness is not normal. And some of these other symptoms, if they're,
yeah,
getting really bad, I mean, you got to be your own
you
investigator,
have
like I
to.
said, right? And kind of see, you know, kind of look for the clues. Are you feeling better in somebody else's house? Are you getting sick? When are you getting sick? Is it when you are inside? I mean,
You really do. I
what
used
was
to,
the trigger for you when you realized it was your home environment?
and that was one factor amongst many. In my
Hmm.
particular home environment, I got black mold poisoning,
Oh,
and
geez.
because of the vicinity to a larger power line, I
Hmm.
developed a very severe electromagnetic frequency sensitivity.
Hmm.
So I became so EMF sensitive at one point that I had to move into an RV that was not connected to any electricity.
Oh,
If I wanted
wow.
to Zoom or use a phone, I had a lead blanket around. I was writing like $1 million contracts for real estate,
Wow.
lead gloves on and
Oh
burns
my gosh.
all like almost every day, I'll end the day with burns all over my hands and my chest from using technology. That
You
is
know
how
what this has
much.
given you, though? I mean,
Yeah.
even though it's terrible and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, it's sort of a
Absolutely.
gift because now you have empathy for people and you know they're not crazy, right?
Exactly.
And
I
you
want to help as
understand what they're
many
going, right? You
people.
understand what they're going through. And I feel like, people shouldn't judge because everybody's level of immune function
Yeah.
is different. And the older you get, it's kind of, I like to envision that, our immune system is kind of like this bucket. And,
Mm-hmm.
you're filling toxins in it. And
Yeah.
at some point it's going to overflow. And so everybody's
Toxic
is over,
burden.
right? Everybody's is overflowing at different times in their life or just depending
Yeah.
on what they're doing. So anything you can do to kind of reduce that toxic load,
You
it's
have
gonna be,
to.
you have to. And so, and you don't want to just write off these symptoms as old
That's not
age or
normal.
what? That's
Yeah.
not normal.
I
So,
and I really attest to that because I
mhm.
was at the top of my game working out 2 hours before I'd hit the slopes at 8 a.m.,
Oh
ski
my
until
gosh.
4, and then go back to the gym and then go do something. Like I
Yeah.
was the epitome of energy and athleticism, and
Yeah.
it for the I mean, I don't think in the last 8 years I've woken up feeling anywhere near okay. Like I
Well,
live,
you're going to find the answers and
I
then just
know.
think about how many people you're going to be able to
And I
help.
can't wait for that because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I fully believe that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And even if it's, whether it's through real estate and helping people, making sure they're finding safe environments,
Uh-huh.
building those environments as well, developing
Hmm.
myself, but also just on a larger scale, creating awareness of what we can do to be our own advocate. Like you said, you have to be your own advocate. And what I to a long-winded way to get back to your question was I started keeping a journal, and I would write down 3 times a day what my level of fatigue was, what my level of brain fog was, my joint pain, my muscle pain, if I felt like I was having a flare or maybe having some
Hmm.
cognitive issues, brain fog, I guess I already said.
Yeah.
I would rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 and then really try and make correlations. I also was am extremely lucky. I always say I'm the luckiest sick person because I have had really incredible medical professionals,
Hmm.
most of which were classically trained Western surgeons that said, hey, the system is broken, it's
Hmm.
not working. We're reactive medicine, and take this and put a band-aid on it and go come back if something else happens instead of
Hmm.
preventative. And
Hmm.
that really enabled me to understand what I needed to do to keep my symptoms at bay, but
Hmm.
also they are the ones that brought up to me, hey, I think we should test you for heavy metals. You've had a significant number of surgeries and you have a lot of metal in your body.
Mm.
So I ended up having to get, a second neck surgery to remove all of the basically materials that my body was attacking because they were foreign
Wow.
objects. And that's one of many surgeries that has come from this, unfortunately. I just had a rib removed. That was
Oh.
horrible. It's like a sci-fi novel, and that's I
Wow.
know that like anyone out there that is struggling with health, I really I hope that I can bring some relief because my life has felt like a science fiction novel. I
Well, you
mean,
will bring so much relief to somebody. And just think
I
about,
can't.
any buyer who is just having questions about mold or maybe they have a child that has asthma or anything like that. Like you're the agent they need to find because you can
Yeah.
help them. So
And
how did you start relating this then to your real estate business and thinking about how you can help your clients more?
yeah, so interestingly enough, I went through a couple detox protocols. Well, yes, they helped, but I started noticing myself when I was showing properties that certain homes would make my hands swell up, or
Mm.
I would get a very severe migraine very quickly. So I started to realize that different environments, I kind of was like a walking sensitivity meter of
Right.
what something's going on in the
Right.
house. Are we right under power lines? Like, I noticed that, mold made my hands swell up, and gave me brain fog. If there
Wow.
was, obviously I wasn't like drinking people's water at their homes to see if there's lead, but based on building materials and how much cleaning had been done in the house, if there's a lot of dander, if the furnace filter had been changed,
Yes.
there are so many preventative things that we can do to make sure that our environments are healthy.
And this
But
was just when you're spending an hour in the property, right? Like
not
imagine if you're
not
spending
even,
not
yeah.
even, wow.
Five minutes in, I could say there's mold in here. That doesn't mean that it could not be mitigated. There is,
Hmm.
but there are also in this wellness space, as I'm sure you know very well, a lot of snake oil salesmen.
Hmm.
So finding the professionals that actually have the knowledge base and ability to like remediate black mold, or if you get a leak and you have to rip out a bunch of drywall and your property's from 1960s, you have asbestos in your drywall. So
Hmm.
are the people that you're working with aware and capable of actually creating solutions so that you can start to regain your health? Because it's not
Right.
something, once you get black mold poisoning, and I think it's something like 40% of the population is more susceptible, but
Hmm.
I mean, it is years of detoxing and different, met depending on which route you go, it can
Hmm.
make you extremely sick. So when
Hmm.
I started taking my clients into properties and noticing that I was quickly having physical reactions to
Hmm.
different homes, it really opened my eyes to the fact, even though I had gone through it in my own home, I kind of, because I was having, I do have so many health issues,
Hmm.
it hadn't quite computed at the time into, oh, this is something I need to be really speaking to my clients about.
Yeah.
It was more of a, oh gosh, I should have known better. I'm an
Yeah.
agent. I should have
Right.
known, even though I had proper inspections. So it really pushed me to want to be an advocate for people's health through their home and
Right.
educate, provide educational resources about different types of inspections that we can be doing to find out everything we possibly can about how that home was constructed, whether it was in the 1890s or whether it's brand new. Because unfortunately, the standard of I guess material that
Hmm.
is used in the world of building
Hmm.
is scary. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, it's sprayed with formaldehyde and a whole bunch of stuff that you
like,
off gases for years in your home.
yeah,
It's terrible.
yeah, you have your kids laying on brand new carpet that is literally covered in formaldehyde.
Yeah, and they're rolling around on it. But I love how you equate this to solutions because you don't want to be part of the whole fear mongering and then people
No,
are so worried about where they're living and then that creates its own problems too, right?
it's an
So
awareness.
it's an awareness, but knowing that there's always a solution, there's always a fix. And so I like how you're expanding your network to make sure you're finding the best resources to mitigate those kinds of things.
Oh, I love it. It's something
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for. And I always say, you learn the hard way. And
Hmm.
I did. I went through multiple contractors, different types of mold testing, different pretty much any industry under the sun I have used, and I've curated a list of vendors that I've now
Hmm.
worked with for 5+ years that I trust. I trust them with my own life. I have them do my own home inspections, and I can feel good about providing those resources to my clients and making sure that my clients know that this is not something that needs to end once the house is bought. Like,
Yeah.
I am always here to be an educational resource for how you can make your shelter, your home,
Hmm.
as safe and as healthy as possible, because we're already getting inundated with so many toxins, just by breathing, by drinking water that has lead in the pipes, through radiation and EMFs and our processed food. Like we've got enough of that toxic burden filling up our buckets already, that anything that we can do, because there is a solution for everything. I'm a firm believer that there are solutions for any issue that we find. And
Well, and you're having a different kind of conversation that most realtors are having with their clients, right? So I think that you're getting out ahead and just being their realtor all the time. So that probably speaks to why you've been an agent for 10 years, is because you
very
are offering a
grateful.
level of service that a lot of agents aren't. And I also, what do you get kickback from listing agents when you come in with this full,
That's an excellent question.
extra
Yeah.
inspections that maybe most agents aren't trying to do? Everybody wants a quick and easy
Yeah.
close. So how do you navigate
So
that?
true. It's so true. And that is an excellent question. Because absolutely, the second that you are going a little bit above and beyond the normal inspections,
Hmm.
you're scaring a seller and a listing
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah.
But I fully believe that everything we do in life and business should be based in relationships.
Hmm.
And the fact that I personally have a story of how these items affected my own health,
Hmm.
I think it helps create rapport and understanding, and just saying,
Hmm.
look, we're not here to nitpick this home. We are here to look for items of health, safety, and sanitary. I want to make sure that this lovely family that I've known for 10 years
Yeah.
is going to be moving into a property that they're safe in. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that anyone can relate to. Now, obviously, there are, depending on the market, if it's extremely competitive, you're probably not going to be able to get very many concessions for these items, and you need
Hmm.
to build that into your budget. But if
Right.
we're in a slower market, which the last 2 years has been slower, it gives us more opportunity to really ask for. I always prefer to ask for a credit and then
Hmm.
hire the workout after closing,
Hmm.
versus if you're a seller, you're going to hire whoever the cheapest option is.
Right. Right.
And that probably isn't the best option, especially when it comes to health and safety of your home. So I love being able to guide my clients through that after closing,
Hmm.
but it really depends on market conditions. But I'm a firm believer that picking up the phone and having a human conversation
Hmm.
with the other agent, maybe it's educating them too on
Yeah.
something that they didn't, hadn't thought about. Because
Well,
I
because
think
they might
it
be
is
saying
something.
these sellers have lived in this house 15 years, and I know that it just says that it's mold, but it hasn't affected them. You
Yeah,
know?
and then I would say, well, 60% of the population isn't affected by mold, actually. So
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Right.
my client is, and
Yeah.
we need to make sure that there's no microbial growth of any kind. And I live in Denver, where it's a very dry climate. We
Yeah.
still have mold.
Right.
I cannot even imagine the level of inspection that needs to take place in, a much
Of
more
humid
humid.
climate.
Yeah, like that scares me
Yeah.
thoroughly. But it doesn't need to be a big scary monster of, man, like, our house is safe. Am I going to have anywhere to live? It's absolutely there, but there are, like anything in life, like your body, there are tune-ups that we're going to have to do to make sure that it is in its peak form, its peak
Hmm.
physical conditioning as a home, and that it's maintained that way so that it can be your shelter and your safe space. But don't let that become a place of operating out of fear as much
Hmm.
as a place of operating out of empowerment, because of knowledge. And
Right.
that's really what my goal is, to provide is educational resources knowledge so that my clients feel they're well equipped for making the best decision for their family.
Right. Well, and I feel like even if you're an agent who hasn't had the personal experience of being affected, you can still go find the best mold, inspector in your
You
area.
should.
And just learning from them and talking to them and hearing their stories of people, those are stories that you could share that could empower your
Invaluable.
clients, right? And then you're going to be the one who asks different questions in your consultations. People are going to feel like, wow, you really are the guide that I'm looking for to not just navigate the transaction correctly and check all, because I feel like so many agents feel like they're
It's so transactional.
transactional paper
Ugh.
pushers. We just
Yeah.
open doors, right?
Yeah.
And that's why people don't see the value in hiring an agent. They just want to
Totally.
buy and stuff, right? But if you can get out ahead of it and you're actually offering real value and you're helping somebody live healthier in their home and you're asking different questions, you're building that relationship, then you become an invaluable resource. You're in their circle of trust.
I'm so
You're going to get that
grateful.
listing agreement, right?
Yeah,
For
and it
sure.
really, I look at my client base and I'd say about 98% of my clients are either past clients or referrals from my sphere or past clients. And most of the people that I have had the opportunity to work with, I will be friends with for the rest of my life
Mhm.
because I love that they feel comfortable enough that when it is time, they're having issues maybe with there was a water leak and they're worried about mold and who's the best remediation service and what do we need
Mhm.
to do to be to know that they trust me with the health of their home and their future and that I can provide solutions that are going to work because I went through them. And like you said, every single time that I go to these inspections, and that's a couple times a week, I'm learning something different from the
Mhm.
inspector. There is so much information that agents can obtain by
Mhm.
hiring the right inspectors and just having an awareness of what items they should be looking for.
Well, and it saves you so much time, right? Because then you're just on a property tour. You're like, oh, look at that. Look at that. We're going to have to ask questions about that.
Yeah. And I
Right?
am that agent. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you, try and find things that
Yeah.
are wrong so that we can make sure that they are not overlooked and that they are addressed. And of course,
Yes.
depending on the issue, the timeline will vary. You might have a couple of years, but hey, here's a couple things you can do to as prevent it. Like do preventative maintenance for our health, we need to be doing the same for our homes. And
Right.
whether having your, furnace and I mean, AC is a whole thing in itself. I try it and use as little air conditioning as possible due to the refrigerants, but they are making much safer products now.
Well, and if you have an ERV or HRV system that's
Yeah,
then bringing in the fresh air into your home, because if you use
the
AC a lot, I know we do, we're
circulation.
not opening the doors, right? So
Yeah,
then you're just
it's
recirculating
circulating.
that.
I noticed that's something that I'll get sick from as well.
Yeah.
So really understanding, air quality and how often you need to be changing your furnace filter, how often they should be cleaned and serviced and certified to make sure that not only is it a green home from the standpoint of, hey, a green home is going to actually put money in your pocket. You're going
Hmm.
to be saving money every month. There are incredible grant programs for making your home more green. And you
Right.
don't have to, like we said, you don't have to be LEED certified to understand the basic principles of what a efficient home looks
Well,
like.
or to even reap the benefits of it, right? And
Exactly.
the other thing is, I do feel like sometimes being green isn't necessarily healthy. So just having that conversation, because let's
So
say you
true.
are someone who's super sensitive to a lot of these toxins, your immune is compromised,
Mhm.
and you want to do a remodel, it would be much better if you went and talked to a green building supplier who could offer you carpeting that is like
Yeah.
wool carpeting or something that's not nylon, because the recycled nylon, which might be good for the planet, is probably
Mhm.
not good for you because it's going to be off gassing,
Yeah,
right?
plastic polymer, exactly.
Right.
So
So
That's a really good point. And I think that, yeah, just because, it has to be finding the right home, finding the right work environment, find whatever it may be, it is such an individual decision. And what might, buying a brand new LEED certified home that is using sustainable materials that, like you said, however, might not, be comprised of the healthiest materials, that might not affect one person and it would completely decimate another.
right.
So
So just knowing that they have a guide that understands that doesn't,
exactly.
make them think they're crazy or whatever, and just can articulate the differences. So then you're as a client, you're making more informed decisions of what is right for you.
And that's the thing is I always want to provide, we're lucky to live in a day and age where there is a plethora of really great information. Obviously, there's a lot of bad information on the internet too, but I'm always curating the best resources so that I can say, if you'd like to learn more about why I recommend this inspection, here's this. Please read this about black mold, or read this about the detriments of lead in your pipes. Asbestos, the list goes on, but I want to be there to provide my client, my consumer, my hopefully friend for life, the resources so that they can make the best decision for them. Because it's not my job to make the decision for them.
Right.
It's my job to advise.
Right. Well, and what I love about that is that it creates a whole bunch of extra content that you get to share that's not just look at this open house, look at this listing, look at me
Exactly.
selling.
I would go
I'm number
crazy.
one, like
I would go crazy.
yeah. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I can see the value of a buyer finding you and wanting to find a home that's perfect for them. But what do you say to sellers if you're wanting to get that listing?
Absolutely. So I will always be brutally honest, regardless of if it doesn't get me the sale, then we weren't meant to be. I do have a good conversion rate because usually my guidance will get to the highest dollar amount for my sellers. But when I am going, and again, this is market dependent. If it's an extremely competitive market, sellers will usually have a little bit less incentive to want to do some pre-inspections on their properties. But I would first like to sit down and do a really thorough interview of any issues they've ever had with the home. Did, hail damage causing leaks in the roof, or did you have a pipe explode, or what occurrences have happened in the home and how are they fixed? So that I know, I'm collecting data on the property. And from that, I can say, look, any buyer that we find is going to bring in their inspectors, and we have no choice who they use. It could be the best inspector. It could be an inspector that is looking to blow up a deal. It is looking, very not solutions oriented. So how can we get ahead of things to take care of the items that you might not have even been aware of, that an inspector is going to see, and that buyer, even if they are not, prone to mold sensitivities, they're going to ask for that to be remediated or a credit because it is an item of health and safety. So I really like to provide my sellers with recommendations on, I would recommend that we get our sewer scope, an inspection, a radon test, depending on the history of the home, potentially mold testing, that, it can get very expensive to do it properly. So I always really want to understand if there's reason for concern. But if I'm selling a property from 1890, you best believe I'm going to recommend that they do that immediately.
Well, not only, I mean, that is such a great thing for the buyers then to feel confident in buying the home. So you can ask for a higher price up front because you as the seller, I feel like there's going to be kickback because they're like, oh, I mean, the buyer's supposed to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that. And, why would I do that if this house is, every seller feels like their house is the best house and worth the most, right? So you got to let them
It's
know.
always treading lightly for sure.
Exactly.
But I think the
But
approach is,
yeah.
I'm here to be your biggest advocate for making sure that we find you the best buyer at the highest price. And in order to do that, let's get ahead of the curve. Let's find, learn everything that we can. And then together we'll make a plan of execution so that when we do go to market, we're looking at, what items are going to have the highest return on your investment. Like if we're putting 10 grand in, are we going to get 30 grand back from that? Like, I really love being able to dive into numbers with sellers and really when you're writing in front of them and showing them different scenarios, it sinks in that, okay, this might be a little bit more work up front, but it's going to make our life so much easier during the transaction. And it reduces the likelihood of a property falling out of contract because of an inspection, the buyer terminating. And it gives you a much higher percentage rate of getting to the closing table with the highest price.
Well, right. And I would think even in a seller's market, you should do it, because then you can create bidders who are going to forego their inspections because they'll just take your inspections.
Yeah. And honestly, yes, some buyers will do that. Others, will use their own inspectors, but with the professionals I recommend, they are so thorough that I guarantee there is not anything that we do not know about already and are on top of it. And it is a double-edged sword, because when you have those inspections done, it is a material fact. You then have to disclose what you've learned. But we're doing this so that we can make repairs prior to going to market, making, you have the ability then to close in 10 days if you wanted to, instead of waiting for 60 days of work to get done. So really, it's a win-win for all parties. And I think that I hope that the real estate community, our boards, become more diligent in offering educational resources for agents and brokers in general about how the importance of a healthy home, understanding green building practices. I think it's such a catchphrase that people like to throw around, but what does it actually entail, so that we can educate our consumers? Because right now they're really, all of everything I have learned was because I had to learn for my own to not die.
Yeah.
And that's not something I would recommend to anyone.
Yes, but there is a growing number of people who are in your camp. I mean, there's so many. Who doesn't know someone who has a chronic illness, or someone with
Unfortunately, yeah.
asthma or something like that, right? So really, as a parent or someone, if you have a family member that's suffering and you're planning on buying a new home, like, wouldn't you benefit from having an agent who understands this and can help you navigate not only the transaction, but buying a home? Because it does make a huge difference if you're in a home that doesn't have all that stuff, right? Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, at the very worst case scenario, like, black mold will kill you.
Yeah.
It's just, these are scary realities, but they're not things that can't be solved. Like, we're here to be solutions driven and to provide the best possible resources and information that we can on both sides. And I guarantee that's what builds lifelong relationships.
Yeah.
Because, the number, I hear it from doctors all the time. Like you said, we all know someone with chronic illness or autoimmune diseases, or culturally, I think that toxic burden has increased significantly enough already that our baseline is almost at its tipping point. So if you may be moving into a new property and that is what's going to make the bucket overflow, and all of a sudden you wake up 3 months later realizing that you have such bad brain fog and fatigue every morning that you can't get out of bed. Well, you really kind of reverse hack your what's changed in your life. And unfortunately, I hear quite often, well, I did just move into this home, and
Mhm.
and it really is dependent upon your own genetic makeup, because different things affect different people in different ways. Where there's no one size fits all to health, or I think we'd all be, living the
Yeah.
dream,
It's
healthy.
like nutrition, right? Like what? There, yeah.
Exactly.
I
Like,
was
oh,
talking to an eco designer and she was telling me this story about this client of hers that had built this beautiful new green home. It had hardwood floors throughout. Like they intentionally picked things that were low VOC,
yeah,
and they moved in and moved their furniture in and they were getting sick. And they're like, what is going on? They tested the air. They had brought in all of these old Oriental rugs or
yeah,
into the home,
yeah.
and
Not
those
have
were
them.
tested and they were off-gassing formaldehyde everywhere. And so they just had to take all those rugs out and then everything was fine. And so then they had carpets made from wool instead, just and it made all the difference. And I was like, wow. And so she had said to me, she goes, I get all of these designers because her business is B2B. So she supplies the
Okay.
carpeting and textiles and things to
Yeah.
designers. And she said, I'll see these designers that buy our products because they're got certified and all of this stuff. And then they go and spray them with chemicals to keep them stain repellent. And she's like, and the kids are rolling around it. She goes, oh my gosh, I feel like designers, not everybody knows how toxic our homes can be, but designers
No.
definitely should. And when she said that to me, I was like, yeah, realtors should too. You're the ones that are in people's homes, you're recommending vendors and
Yeah.
professionals. And so you don't need to be, as an agent, you don't need to be the healthy home expert,
No.
but you should be the connector for everything home. So just go get out there, start having these conversations with healthy home
Exactly.
professionals, right? And just expand your knowledge. You never know who you're going to meet and who you'll be able to help through that new relationship you just built.
It's so true. And really being able to give someone even that's struggling currently with illness, and
Mm-hmm.
helping them to find an environment that feels safe and feels good to their body, because I have been in lived in so many environments where I was physically like muscle spasming 20 hours a day. Like I have felt how horrific it can be to be in the wrong environment.
Yeah.
And if I can help people, reduce the likelihood of having those issues, it's my imperative. And I agree. I think every agent should have basic knowledge of what to be aware of in both new construction and throughout each era, really, because every era had a different material that turned out to be extremely toxic.
Right. They find
And
out 20 years later, oh yeah, by the way, that was really bad for you.
exactly. And these
Right.
these are things that, okay, if your property was built in the 60s or 70s and you have a drywall patch to do, you probably need to understand that there is asbestos in that drywall. And the
Yeah.
second you start cutting into it, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, a huge
Yes.
health risk.
Yes. I honestly remember my husband and I, our first house had that popcorn ceiling. And
Yeah.
I literally think some of my neurological stuff I'm dealing with is
Yeah.
because we took that off ourselves and I wasn't even wearing a
Most people
mask. Like
do.
I watered it down,
Most
and
people do. You never
not
know.
not a smart decision, right?
Well,
You think
I
you're in your
think
20s, like you're going to live forever. And then
that's how I
well,
felt for
yeah,
sure. I don't feel
yeah,
that way. I'm like, ow.
yeah.
But, you know, being able to help people through our own experiences is invaluable. But I do see that, there is starting to become an awareness, at least, of what sustainable building practices actually are.
Hmm.
And I think there is a push towards more integrative functional medicine that is,
Hmm.
how can we prevent illness instead of uh, putting a Band-Aid on it after we're already ill.
Hmm.
I'm really happy to see that people are starting to become more aware of the impact that the foods in their their eating have on them, their
Well,
environments.
it's
That's
a holistic
exciting.
approach to health, right? It's not just the diet and the exercise anymore. It's the toxic relationships you're having. It's the stress you're putting in your mind and what are you saying to yourself all day long? And then it's the environment that you have too, right? It's like all of these things.
We're like
And I love,
connected at the brain.
yeah. I mean, I just love that wellness real estate to begin with is just forward-thinking developers who are intentionally designing these homes centered on wellness. And it is the future of residential development. It's happening. And the fact of the matter is not everybody can live in those, right? But
Yeah.
everyone deserves to live in a healthy home. So I love that you're championing that and you're helping your clients do that. It's wonderful for them.
I love everything I love the educational resources and the topics that you were bringing up, because I think they can feel like big scary monsters, but when you're learning about it in a approachable manner as you do, it's just providing you with the armor you need to make sure that you're thinking of everything you possibly can in how, like, it also gives you a different awareness of your body. Like, how am I, it makes you check in with yourself. How am I doing? How am I feeling? Okay, I noticed that I just bought this new property, and over the last 6 months, I've gotten significantly more brain fog. Can I find out what material the carpet was made out of, or
Well,
the
I think a lot of
vinyl
times,
flooring,
like
or
people will then go, "What did the seller not tell me? Who can I sue?" And
oh,
like,
that's always first.
yeah, whose fault is this? Who's going to pay for
Exactly.
this, right?
That's always
So,
the first line of defense.
right. So doing your due diligence and making sure that you are getting them that extra inspection and you're disclosing all of this information and you're checking all your boxes on those forms and make sure that you're protected as an agent, but then it also gives them peace of mind that they did all of these steps and we have a, remediation person that can solve the issue, right?
Yeah, and it is as realtors, we do continuing education every year annually anyway. So, something I'm definitely interested in, once I get a little bit further down the road on my health journey, is teaching some of these classes, because I think that there are very basic principles that agents and consumers can have a small knowledge base about, and that is enough to at least get the door open on some really big items.
Well, when you're ready to do that, connect with me again, because I know someone who helps agents get their credit courses CE certified. Yeah. So
that's so
reach
neat.
out to me. Yeah.
I will definitely.
But
No,
I don't know if you're part of my if you go to my website and you look up the agent directory in there, I want you to be in there because I have a whole tribe
I love that.
of
I did
agents
look at
who are forward-thinking agents, and I just feel like I'm trying to create this community to bring healthy home professionals and agents like you together so that we can collaborate and learn from each other and just provide a referral network. Because if you have someone moving to Georgia, for example, like I know, right? I know agents in Georgia who are wellness focused agents. So
that's huge. And I could not be more grateful, because I can't tell you how many clients a year I have that have to move out of state. And I'm interviewing agent after agent, trying to find them the right fit. And there is like a 0 out of 40 chance that an agent has any knowledge base of a healthy home.
Well, you found your tribe,
so
because
thank you. That is invaluable.
Okay. Well, Athena, how can agents get a hold of you if they want to connect and learn more, refer?
Yes, please. First of all, I don't bite. Like, contact me anytime. I'm here to be a valuable resource for your real estate needs, your health journey, questions you may have. Like, I'm very approachable. I love meeting people. The easiest way to get a hold of me, if you just go to my website, which is www. my first and last name, so Athena, Athena, Brownson, Brownson, Realtor, Realtor.com. That has my cell phone, it has my email, it has an inquiry form, it's got some great resources about, the home. So it's a good hub for everything, but please don't hesitate to reach out. I think people oftentimes don't get a little bit apprehensive because they're like, well, I don't want to buy a house. I don't care if you don't want to buy a
Yeah.
house. I want to be here to help you get through whatever is going on in your life because it's hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, right? If
Yeah,
you know the right
exactly.
people. So
Exactly.
wow.
So
And then what is your do you do Instagram or Facebook or
yes,
anything like that? What's your
yeah.
handle?
So same as my website is
Okay.
Athena Brownson Realtor, and I do a lot of videos. I'm doing my first development project right now, so it's been a really incredible journey and learning about building materials and things to be aware of with my contractor. So we're going to be starting a mini series soon.
Oh,
So
yay. That's
something,
exciting.
yeah, something to look forward to, and hopefully just, arm people with the tools that they need to be healthy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much,
Thank
Athena. It
you.
was so great to speak with you today and learn so much. I appreciate
No, I
you.
appreciate it. Thanks for doing what you're doing because it is unique and it is one of the most critical things that we can give people. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something new that will inspire you to think about your branding and how you can market yourself a little differently. If you enjoyed this episode, then you're going to love what I have for you because you don't need to wait to go get extra certifications or to grow and expand your network to get started attracting those new leads right now. You can simply begin by talking about wellness real estate trends and what you've learned on this podcast with others. I mean, this is pretty interesting stuff that no one has heard about, and I have all the tools that can make it even easier for you. Wellness Real Estate Magazine is a brand new wellness lifestyle magazine, and it's the only magazine that brings health and home together. We educate readers on industry trends and how to create a healthier home environment, written by industry experts around the country. And we have 3 covers to choose from: Wellness RE, Healthy Home, and Wellness at Home, so you can easily find one that aligns with your unique brand and messaging. These magazines are the perfect done-for-you tools that help you not only stay top of mind, but they educate and engage your audience, which positions you as an industry expert. Differentiate yourself and grow your brand the easy way. Learn more at healthyhomemedia.com.